Legal cases, legal issues, legal matters. You're watching WFTV's Law Talk with anchor Christopher Heath and expert legal analyst, attorney Mark NeJame.
All right, let's talk about some of the current cases, issues, and legal matters that our viewers are talking about. Joining me today is legal analyst attorney Mark NeJame of the NeJame Law Firm, and John Zielinski, a senior partner in the litigation side of the civil division over there at NeJame Law. Pets. I've got 2 dogs. One of my dogs a couple years back did bite another dog. So I am kind of one of these people who ran to Google real quick and was like, okay, what do I got to do? But if you own a pet, whether we're talking a dog or a cat or a fish, or maybe somebody owns a couple pet pigs, you need to be aware that the law does cut into this to a certain extent.
It does, and you know, when we were talking about topics, it almost sounded a little bit like a fluff topic that we were going to talk about, but there's real issues as it relates to it. You know, your liability issues if your animal bites somebody, the licensing issues that get involved about what you're allowed to have on properties, which is becoming more and more as we become more and more urbanized, and you know, we do actually own 2 pet pigs. Coco Chanel and Louis Crouton, and they go along with our little Frenchies that we have. We always have pets, but there are issues. I remember once at one of our children's birthday parties, one of the pigs did take a little nip at one of the kids, and there's liability issues, and also you have the issue of if you lose a pet or your pet is killed by a car or by another dog. Florida has, you know, it doesn't recognize that as really pain and suffering. It recognizes the animals as chattels. Chattels are things. And so therefore, you know, those of us who are animal lovers can't necessarily get the recovery for pain and suffering or something like that. Only arguably the value of the animal or the medical bills that are associated with healing the animal. But otherwise, you could be stuck. So there's lots of issues that surround it.
And one of those issues is with your home, because if you have animals in the home, obviously you have homeowners insurance, and things are going to come into play. And we were discussing, you know, we think about dogs and cats mainly, but if you've got a big fish tank and that thing springs a leak and you got 50 gallons of salt water flowing everywhere, your homeowner's insurance is going to come into play probably.
Absolutely. Not only as to the property damage that you just mentioned there, but you can also think about it in the sense of insurers don't like to cover pets in general. So you need to check that policy to see if you've got coverage or if you can get a pet endorsement, those kind of things, because if your pet should get out, let's say a dog, you know, runs under the fence and is in the public and knocks somebody over, causes significant injuries. Under Florida law, that's strict liability. Whatever has happened to that person, you know, broken hip, broken leg, etc., that is going to be your responsibility for that pet. And if there is no insurance to cover that, that can be a catastrophic loss and can cause serious issues for the homeowner. There is one thing that a pet owner can do to try and avoid loss, is if you've got, you know, one of those animals, and really with any dog you can do this, that has a propensity for violence or aggression, Rottweilers, pit bulls, those kind of things. You post on your fence in a prominent way, bad dog. You put that on your fence, and an adult or anybody over the age of 6 that is in your yard, with or without your permission, knowing that the bad dog is there, will not be able to sue. That gives you an exemption or an avoidance of liability under those circumstances.
Of course, all that goes out the window if the dog leaves the property and starts running around the neighborhood. Now, that dog's your responsibility. But this also gets into something you'd mentioned that I wanted to touch on. You know, the fact that we don't like to think of our animals as property, but if I come to your house and take one of your prized pet pigs, I've stolen from you. Yes, that's a family member, you know, emotionally, but it'd be the same as if I came in and took a flat screen TV from you.
You hit it on the head. That's exactly right. It's a chattel. And some states have, I will say, have become more enlightened, being the animal lovers that I and my family are. But they now recognize that you can have pain and suffering, and that your pets are more than just a thing. Florida, we haven't gone to that level yet. Animals, pets are just things. And so you're limited to your damages pretty much as you would with any other thing. And, you know, I would think that, to me, that's unfortunate, but that is the law.
Yeah. And circling back to your example at the very beginning, where your pet bites another pet,
Yeah.
Now, you know, I've had horrific calls to the office where, you know, it's resulted in a death or really serious injury to the pet owner, and that's traumatic to watch your pet being, you know, attacked by another pet. And in that circumstance, exactly what Mark was saying, you're not entitled to emotional distress for watching and viewing that. There's one exception to that, though, and Florida has this physical impact rule. If you get in the middle and you're trying to break those pets apart, and the aggressive dog bites you, now you've got a physical impact. Now you can try and seek that emotional distress as a result of that other pet's aggression.
And I'll just add to that, and there are other scenarios that exist, and that is if the dogs get into a fight and you're attempting to extricate your dog from being attacked or whatever, and then you fall and you get bit, or if you then break your leg or your arm when you're falling, well, then you've got negligence claims for your injuries, but not necessarily, then they're very limited at that point to your pet's injuries.
Like we've talked about on so many other topics, it comes down to a lot of responsibility. Owning a dog, owning a cat, owning pigs, it's a responsibility. You take care of them and you are responsible for what they do. John, I appreciate it. Mark, as always. If you'd like to see more of this Law Talk or any of our others, visit our website, WFTV.com/legal, or join us each week right here on Facebook. I'm Christopher Heath, and thanks for watching.
WFTV's Law Talk was brought courtesy of the Personal Injury and Accident Division of NeJame Law.